It is my great pleasure to introduce to you this morning our AAUW National CEO and main representative to the United Nations. I don't want to cut into Gloria's brief time with us this morning, so I will just refer you to her biography on the national website. When you read about her accomplishments, you will ask yourself, how could one woman do so much? Things like 15 years of managing AUW's fellowships and grants programs and distributing to women scholars and programs $70 million during that time. She is just amazing. In fact, Board Chair Julia Brown said it best, I believe. She said, Gloria is the right person at the right time to lead AAUW. And we are honored this morning to have Gloria with us. So please, everyone, welcome Gloria Blackwell.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation to spend some time with you all. It really is my pleasure to be AAUW's CEO. I would like to share my screen so I can give a brief presentation. So hello, everyone. It's very exciting to be here. I see that you've had a couple of days to get together and enjoy some really great content. But I'm excited to spend just a few moments with you going over some information about what AAUW has accomplished and where we hope to go. I've been a member of AAUW, as was mentioned, for quite a while, maybe not as long as some of you, but I have been with the AAUW for a bit. And in noting that, I would also like to start just by saying congratulations to the AAUW Salem branch for your 100th anniversary. It's actually the only branch in Oregon that I actually had an opportunity to visit, so congratulations. I'm really excited to be AAUW's new CEO. I'm excited about the work that AAUW has accomplished and energized about the future that holds for AAUW and the impact that we can have on women and girls. I know that as we work together, we can have an even bigger difference and impact on women and girls. I want us to continue to prioritize and leverage our successes so that we can expand our audiences and our influence across sectors. And I'm just really impressed about how even during a pandemic, we have been able to thrive and advance AAUW's mission forward. Just reflecting on the past few months of being CEO, we really have kept AAUW's main foundations at the forefront: education, advocacy, and research, because we know that they are what has the greatest impact, and staying focused and prioritized has really been successful for AAUW. Because when a time when meeting face-to-face wasn't an option, AAUW jumped into virtual webinars and workshops, reaching over 25,000 participants to date. At a time when our democracy was under threat, AAUW, we used our voice to advocate for voting rights and for policies to support women and girls. And at a time when women were struggling financially, we published incredibly important research highlighting how the pandemic had a disproportionate impact on women, particularly women of color, and we fought for solutions. That's really why AAUW's collective voice is so incredibly important. Education, advocacy, and research are how AAUW has had impact for over 140 years. We've adapted it to meet today's challenges, and we're working harder than ever to ensure that all women are lifted up. In my leveraging success to grow our impact really is a key leadership strategy that I have utilized throughout AAUW and hope to use as we move into the future. During my first few months of CEO, the successes that we've had have also been about ensuring that states and branches pivoted quickly, during the pandemic. You certainly did what was needed to ensure that AAUW continued to move forward. When we asked you to contribute to our Greatest Needs Fund, You rose to the challenge. You had virtual fundraising that needed to happen because it didn't stop us from continuing our mission. Those donations were really important because it allows us to work on our programs that can't be funded through our restricted fundings. That was incredibly important. You also advocated for our policies and priorities by sending over 70,000 letters to elected officials, which was key because those were the letters that advocated for things like student loan forgiveness, paycheck fairness, child care tax credits, and paid family leave. And we continue, and you also jumped in and continued with the 5-star recognition program as well. Program that started about 5 years ago, and we've had over 100 branches and states have participated to align the work that you are doing with AAUW strategic plan. So thank you. And also, you jumped in to continue to advocate for AAUW's gender pay gap advocacy work, which really is a strong pillar in demonstrating the impact of AAUW's collective work in moving legislation forward. All of the work that you do locally and at the state level for equal pay day is really important. And it is important because it helps to leverage our success. And it's important because membership matters. It really is our collective impact, both nationally, at the state, local level, and even globally that has an impact. It's what has allowed AAUW to flourish, thrive, and stand out for 140 years. My listening, learning, and connecting is part of the past few months of being CEO. I've had an opportunity to make sure that AAUW is in the right rooms, that AAUW is a part of the right conversations. That includes the White House, that includes partnering with our coalition members and equity space members like the National Organization of Women on the feminist state of the women. AAUW is showing up in places where we know that we should have a voice and connecting with those in the equity space, which is key. That includes also a Capitol Hill event hosted by Speaker Nancy Pelosi in honor of Title IX and women athletes, where we had an opportunity to hear from the extraordinary Billie Jean King, as well as the daughter of the late Representative Patsy Mink, whom I'm sure you all know was a champion of Title IX and helped to move that legislation forward. We're going to be having a Title IX event on June 23rd to honor the 50th anniversary at the national level, and we hope that you will join us. It really is important because AAUW started doing the work of Title IX literally back in 1945 when we were sending surveys off to college campuses in order to ensure that discrimination against women was being addressed and to work on policy to make sure that campuses were treating women fairly. So that was really, really key. And it's also the same way that AAUW has been advocating, doing research, advocating, and making sure that once we identify an issue, that we look for solutions in order to make sure that we are addressing them. We've also been focusing, obviously, on our key strategic areas based on the strategic plan that was updated in 2020, and that we're currently, obviously, looking at making sure that it's still relevant to the needs that we are working on in the equity community. When it was updated, racial equity as well as inclusivity and STEM were added. And we're definitely making progress across the fields that we have decided are our strategic priorities. That includes our fellowships and grants, which during the pandemic, when so many women were seeking financial support and colleges were challenged, AAUW awarded the largest amount ever in our history. We also piloted a number of new programs, including STEM Ed for Girls, focusing on low-income girls and their parents and caregivers, as well as AAUW Money Smart focused on preparing women to be financially savvy in their careers and throughout their lifetimes as a direct result from the work that we have been doing around salary negotiation. And that work was supported through the Coca-Cola Foundation. And of course, we took NCWISL virtual last year, and we'll be doing so again next month. Thank you for your support of NCWISL. It's an important opportunity to give even more young women an opportunity to participate by opening up in a virtual space. That's been key. And also for those who couldn't afford to travel, to the DC area for NCWISL. All of these programs were incredibly well received, especially STEM Ed and Money Smart. And we have received additional funding for STEM Ed for Girls to expand it as well. And so we hope to take our lessons learned and create a bigger and better program with more impact. In the area of economic security, I mentioned earlier, we did research during the pandemic, making sure that we were not just highlighting the inequities that the pandemic elevated and amplified, but also that we were putting solutions forward about what needs to be done. And so we did the survey in New York City around women and learned that 1 in 3 women weren't earning enough to sustain themselves, which is key because, women suffered the brunt of the economic fallout and the job losses, especially women of color. And so the research really helped to amplify our collective voice and also the way in which we lobbied during the pandemic for so much economic relief for women. We also published AAUW Start Smart grew with our work with historically Black colleges and universities, minority-serving institutions as well, because it was really important to make sure that we were expanding our work across the higher education space, and obviously continuing our work with the gender pay gap, because even in the new information that was just released, we know that it didn't take into account all of the job losses by women. And so this fall, we'll be releasing, with the simple truth, updated data to demonstrate the clear impact of the pandemic on the pay gap. And we already know that the pay gap actually widened for women of color. We also have expanded our work because we really are trying to have an impact and build the next generation of leaders and activists through our work. And so that includes our virtual programming, which we have been doing throughout the year, working on bringing virtual programs with women leaders and programs for women leaders as well. That includes our programs in the fall around our recognition awardee, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, our international fellow. We participated in the NGO CSW Forum just last month, talking about women in work, economic security, and leadership with our fellows and grantees who are alumni and leaders in fields, across sectors. And then we also expanded our research in working with the EOS Foundation on a new report back in January that you probably know about that focused on higher education, the women's power gap at elite universities, scaling the ivory tower. And the gist of that particular report is that despite the fact that women have been receiving the most degrees since the late 1970s, that has not translated into leadership, in particular at the top 130 elite institutions that educate more than 4,000 students annually. And so all of the gains in education have not seen themselves play out when it comes not only to higher education, but across sectors. And so, it was a revelation to so many that these institutions only have 22% of women that lead them, and a paltry 5% of those leaders are women of color, despite the fact that women of color are earning degrees at higher rates than any other group. And so the research was really, really key. And it's key because when we talk about leadership, economic security, and education and training, we know that it is important because we know that change can happen. And we know that these are the things that excite us, that get us worked up and really, really inspire us to continue to do the work that we do on behalf of AAUW. I know that we can do better. I know that change can happen. We've seen it happen. And we've seen it happen in ways that have assisted breaking down the barriers for women and girls. For example, look at the makeup of our current Congress. Look at the diversity that has now shown itself in Congress. Also, our Vice President, who covers not just one but multiple firsts. And also, in particularly this past month, we have seen how progress is possible. We've seen it in the eminently capable Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, who was just confirmed as the first Black woman to serve as Associate Justice on the U.S. Supreme Court. You saw the picture in the beginning of the presentation that AAUW was there at the foot of the Supreme Court when the hearing started, providing support, and your advocacy certainly helped to ensure that you thanked your elected representatives, but also made sure the ones that might have been on the fence got a message noting how qualified that Judge Jackson was for this position, and that also it was more than time for a Black woman to be elevated to the Supreme Court. And so we were there at the beginning, and we were there yesterday at the White House when Judge Jackson's confirmation was celebrated by leaders in the equity space, in civil rights, within the administration, Congress, and beyond. And I was certainly proud to represent AAUW at such an historic moment. And it's because of all the work that you do that we are able to be in the right rooms, having the right conversations, and meeting the right people so that we can move our mission forward. So thank you all very much. And I personally feel that you should give yourselves a round of applause. So I applaud you for the work that you do, and I applaud you for the support that you give me in carrying out the work of AAUW. I want to also talk about just quickly that governance and sustainability is important. It really is key to us being able to accomplish the work and the mission that we have set out for AAUW. Being a sustainable organization obviously means balancing our budget. It means making sure that we have the right talent in place to meet our mission and advance our mission. And it also means working to keep our technology and our tools for both members and staff updated and functioning. Certainly, it's a challenge adapting to new systems. Obviously, a system like AAUW's that had not been updated in over 20 years has brought forth all kinds of challenges. But what I ask is that you please do give the AAUW team some grace during this time. They are working as hard as they can with our consultants and with our contractors. This has been a years-long process, and we are making progress, and we will get it right. But in the meantime, we are making opportunities for training and tools in order to support everyone being able to get what they need in order for this to be successful. So please, grace is in order. For governance, I think we're also looking for you, members, volunteers, leaders, to help AAUW's community become more inclusive. So we do have a number of online tools. Please check out our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Toolkit for sure. If you haven't, consider having a diversity officer. We do have a cadre of volunteer diversity officers who are getting together and to network and share information. It's the space that you need to think about not only learning, but also leading. It's important. And the diversity office can help you connect with others who are working towards the same goal. And just to wrap it up, how you can help is important as well. Helping is also about participating in our 5-star recognition program, reflecting on our core mission objectives and staying up to date, Please donate to our Greatest Needs Fund. Recognize AAUW's Title IX, the 50th anniversary. A contribution to the campaign of $50 would be amazing. And also, please speak out and let your voice be heard. As a member of AAUW, it's important. Vote in the elections. Make sure that you're advocating for AAUW's key policy objectives as well, and definitely make sure that your voice is being heard in choosing the leaders who will be setting the strategy for AAUW, because it really is important. Don't discount your voice as an individual member. So thank you so much. The pandemic has really exposed so much about what the challenges are in our country, particularly as it relates to women and families in our workplaces. And it has also given us an opportunity in exposing so much to know exactly where we need to move forward in order to affect change. There are key opportunities that we have now to affect lasting change for women and families, and to get the system fixed. So thank you so much for your voice. Thank you so much for your support and your time and the talent that you put toward ensuring that AAUW is working towards our goal of equity for all. For 140 years, AAUW has been a leader, and we have leveraged our success and really grown our impact as an organization. And that's what I want us to do moving forward. I'm confident that the best is yet to come in order to realize AAUW's vision of equity for all. So thank you very much.
Gloria, thank you so much for your leadership, your vision, and your incredibly hard work, along with your staff at National, to support programs and individuals that are promoting equity for women and girls. We really appreciate the work that you do, and we appreciate your being here with us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Couldn't do it without you. So enjoy the rest of your day. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria, so much for reminding us of just what an incredible organization we belong to and the work that AAUW does. And you guys, each one of us is a member of this. We are all members of AAUW. So remember this. If you don't remember anything else when you leave today, remember that.